Imagine, just for a second, the Idaho Panhandle. Really beautiful, right? Towering pines, clear morning air. A perfect summer day, seems like. But then you see it, a plume of smoke rising over the trees. A brush fire. Now, for Coeur d'Alene, especially late June, that's, well, it's not completely unheard of. But what happened next? That was unheard of. It's actually horrifying when you think about it. Because this fire, it wasn't an accident, not lightning, not a careless campfire. No, this was a trap. Deliberate. Deadly. Today, we're doing a deep dive into something truly shocking. An ambush against firefighters. A massacre hidden inside a wildfire call. It ripped through a quiet community, and honestly, it sent shockwaves across the entire country. It didn't just test our ideas about safety or routine, it shattered them. Utterly shattered that trust we have in, the people who run towards danger for us.
Yeah, it's chilling how fast the ordinary, the everyday can just twist into something terrifying. So our mission today really is to unpack this, every layer of that awful day. The ambush itself, how it was planned, the people caught up in it, and the questions, the really unsettling questions that still hang in the air. We want to look at the impact too, locally of course, but also much wider. We're not just going to look at what happened, though that's critical. We need to dig into why. Why does the specific event hit so hard? Why does it make us question our own security maybe? And it highlights vulnerabilities, doesn't it? Things we might prefer not to think about usually.
Absolutely. And to really get a sense of the horror, you almost have to go back to that morning, June 29th, 2025. Coeur d'Alene, Idaho. It's this beautiful city, right on the lake. Community is really important there. And the first report comes in. Just like countless others. Brush fire. Seems routine. A standard dispatch. So the local fire department, very professional, well-trained, they roll out. Fast, you can picture, right? Getting the gear on, engines heading out. Thinking about protocols, winds, containment strategy, all that stuff. They were ready for fire, for flames, for the physical work. That's their job. But they weren't ready for betrayal, for deliberate attack. I mean, how could you be? They operate on trust, don't they? Trust in their training, their gear, and fundamentally trust in the community they serve. And that day, that trust wasn't just broken, it was weaponized, used against them.
It really forces you to think, doesn't it, about what first responders face every single day. For them, every call, every siren, it could be dangerous. They know that, but they still go. Professionalism, commitment, and maybe underneath it all, an expectation that people aren't actively trying to kill them, Well, when something like this happens, it's not just an attack on individuals, it's like it demolishes that fundamental trust, that basic social contract, the one that lets them run towards the danger, assuming the people they're going to help aren't setting a trap. So that calm before the ambush, it wasn't just quiet, it was hiding something truly awful, something almost impossible to predict.
So the crews arrive. And at first glance, it looks like what they expected. A brush fire, manageable maybe, smoke, flames crackling away. Their focus is immediate. Contain it, protect property, lives. You can see them, can't you? Spreading out, getting hoses ready, making those quick decisions firefighters make. Second nature. But then, just like that, everything changes. The quiet, gone. Ripped apart by gunfire. Loud, terrifying, unmistakable. And this wasn't some accident, not a crossfire or anything random. No, this was calculated. An ambush. The sources are very clear on this. They literally walked right into a planned massacre. The impact was, well, immediate and devastating. In that first burst of gunfire, Battalion Chiefs Frank Harwood and John Morrison were killed instantly. And these weren't rookies. These are leaders, veterans, mentors in the department, people who'd given their lives to this work. Their loss was just brutal. For their families, obviously, but for the whole firefighting community, too. And Engineer David Tisdall, he was hit, critically wounded, fighting for his life. It just shows the sheer violence of it all. The scene must have just turned into a complete nightmare. Gunshots, fire, shouting. In this forest, it seemed so normal moments before.
Yeah, the immediate aftermath. It must have been pure chaos, shock, confusion, trying to help the injured while under fire. Law enforcement descended on the area, naturally, and it turned into this huge manhunt. 5 hours, they said, searching through those same woods where the attack happened. Imagine the tension. A shooter still out there, maybe hiding in the smoke, injured colleagues needing help. Just an incredibly difficult, dangerous situation for everyone involved. Responders dealing with the fire and an active shooter. And then the immediate threat ended, but in a really unsettling way. The suspect, Wess Val Roley, he died by suicide, which, okay, ended the immediate danger, but it also meant answers were gone, especially about why. That question just hangs there, and that lack of closure, that void, just adds another layer of pain to the whole thing. Leaves everyone grappling not just with loss, but with this awful, unanswerable why.
So, Wess Val Roley, who was he? Sources identify him as 20 years old. 20. And here's the part that really chills you. The thing that makes this different. Roley didn't just happen upon the fire. He started it. Deliberately. His plan, investigators found, was to use that fire like bait. To lure firefighters, paramedics, whoever responded, into that exact spot, into the ambush. It wasn't impulsive. It wasn't a crime of passion. It was thought out, planned, turning public service into a death trap. The coldness of that, it's hard to comprehend, really.
And that brings us right to the motive, doesn't it? Or rather, the lack of one, which is maybe the most disturbing part of this whole thing. Our sources, they all point to this. Despite looking into it thoroughly, no clear reason ever really surfaced. You're left asking, what could possibly make a young person do this? Plan something so extreme, so violent, against people whose entire job is helping others. The public conversation, it immediately went to a few places, right? Was it severe mental health problems, something undiagnosed, untreated maybe, leading to this break from reality?
Yeah.
Or was it some kind of extreme ideology, anti-government, anti-authority, seeing first responders as symbols of a system he hated? Or, and this is maybe even scarier, was it something else, something darker? Something that just doesn't fit into our usual boxes? The horror is just amplified by not knowing why. It makes it feel random, almost meaningless in a way, which is terrifying. It turns it from a tragedy into this chilling puzzle. And that lack of a clear why was probably the biggest reason this blew up nationally. It wasn't just a local crime story. It became this national point of reflection on, violence we can't easily explain.
Yeah, and the impact. It started right there, didn't it, in Coeur d'Alene? I mean, this is a place where firefighters, paramedics, they're your neighbors, your friends, part of the community. And suddenly, the whole town is just reeling, shaken to its core. Not by a flood or a big fire, but by someone from within. Malice. Firefighters, they're heroes, right? That's how we see them. Protectors. And overnight, they were seen as targets. Potential targets. Imagine how that changes things. That fundamental perception shift. The people running towards danger were suddenly vulnerable to attack. Even in their own town. It created this awful sense of vulnerability. Like, nowhere is truly safe. It left a scar. Made people wonder about, what might be hidden beneath the surface of their community.
And then you zoom out, look at the national picture. This event, it really sparked some major conversations all across the country. Our sources point to sort of three main themes that kept coming up. First, definitely, was protecting EMS and fire crews. How do we keep them safer? People started talking about, tactical training maybe, ballistic vest, different protocols on scene, a whole range of things. Second, it brought mental health awareness right to the forefront. Again, because the motive was so murky, people naturally asked about mental illness. Could it play a role in this kind of extreme violence? So more calls for better resources for early intervention, trying to reduce that stigma around getting help. And third, inevitably, it got pulled into the gun violence debate. Now, we're not taking sides here. That's not what this deep dive is about. These are complex, deeply divisive issues. But it's important to acknowledge that this incident absolutely fueled those existing arguments on all sides. Stricter gun control versus Second Amendment rights, it became another tragic example used in that ongoing national conversation.
And while all these big debates were happening, you had the families, the victims' families, dealing with this unimaginable grief. Losing someone, not in an accident, not to the inherent dangers of the job, but like this, to calculated hate. The whole community in Coeur d'Alene, and really people everywhere, rallied around them. Memorials, vigils, that show of solidarity. But there was also this desperate need for answers. For justice, yes, but also just understanding. Even with the perpetrator gone, people wanted to make sense of it. How could this happen? So thinking about all this, what does it mean for you, for us, listening to this? If the very people sworn to protect us can be targeted like this, so coldly, so deliberately, what does that say about the world we live in? What does it tell us about those currents, sometimes hidden, sometimes ignored, that run beneath the surface in our communities?
This deep dive really leaves us with a pretty unsettling lesson, doesn't it? That horror isn't always some distant thing. Sometimes it's right there, hiding in the everyday, ready to just explode. It really highlights how vulnerable first responders are. Their bravery, their dedication, it's incredible. But it doesn't make them immune to the worst kinds of human behavior. Their job involves facing danger, fire, accidents, disasters, sure, but they should never, ever have to face being the deliberate target of a planned attack like this. It's just a stark reminder of some complex and, sometimes dark forces in society, forces we probably need to pay more attention to, we need to stay vigilant.
Yeah, and maybe here's something to carry forward, something to think about after listening. What responsibility do we have? All of us, as a society, not just to mourn when things like this happen, but to really try and understand the forces behind them and to proactively address them. How can we do a better job of protecting the people who run towards danger for us? Knowing that the threats aren't always flames or falling debris, sometimes the threat is human, deeply human. This isn't just one tragic story, is it? It's kind of an invitation, maybe an urgent one, to look deeper, to ask harder questions, and to think about our collective role in keeping everyone safe, especially those who dedicate their lives to keeping us safe.